Brutally is an understatement.
A massive search by local law enforcement and volunteers, hoping for the best.
This is every parent's worst nightmare.
Who could take a little girl's life? What possesses them to do that?
January 16, 1992, a 17-year-old student by the name of Carolyn Murray was hopping off the school bus and began walking home. A man crept up on her and violently grabbed her arm. On the afternoon of this incident, Carolyn's godmother knew something was wrong. Carolyn wasn't home in time to watch her favorite show, the soap opera, General Hospital. The family gathered up and went out to look for her. She was eventually found by family members unconscious in a pool of blood. Carolyn was airlifted by helicopter to an area hospital. What the attacker did to her would drastically change her life forever. He forced her into an abandoned house. The attacker violently assaulted her. When he was done, he hit her in the head with a blunt object. With so much force, the impact crushed her skull, which caused her to lose part of her brain, leaving Carolyn for dead. Her family sat beside her while she was in a coma. Miraculously, she survived. When the former honor roll student recovered, she was paralyzed on the left side, investigators said. Carolyn underwent 2 surgeries and suffers from permanent brain damage. She is now disabled physically and mentally. An article from the Tampa Bay Times reveals that she's emotionally disturbed. Dorothy Murray Fagan, long believed the identified man who brutally assaulted and nearly bludgeoned her teenage daughter to death, was dead. So when Dorothy's phone rang and Pasco County Sheriff's Detective David Boyer told her deputies had caught the man, she was in shock. "I could not believe it," she said. "It was a miracle." Her mother said sometimes Carolyn panics when staff try to move her from her bed to a wheelchair because she fears she might get raped. She can't look out the window either for fear of what she might see. To this day, Carolyn, now 40, cannot speak in full sentences. She communicates through broken syntax and individual words and by using her right hand, according to her mother. She is strengthened to the point of being able to walk around with a cane, though she's prone to falling and recently broke her right leg, the good one, in a tumble. The mother anticipates telling her daughter soon, in simple terms, that her alleged attacker has been arrested. Something along the lines of, "Carolyn, you don't have to be scared anymore. You can look out the window again." Pasco County, February 19, 1993. At around 3 p.m., like a typical school day, Jennifer was being dropped off from school when the school bus arrived at her bus stop. She stepped off and waved to a few of her friends before she made her way home. Her home was roughly 200 yards away, not a far walk from the drop-off, but Jennifer never made it home. Tampa Bay Times sat down with Jennifer's mom, Renee. She can still picture her 12-year-old daughter waving goodbye out the back window of the school bus. That would be the last time she would see her firstborn little girl alive. Students on a bus told authorities they saw a faded blue pickup truck behind Jennifer, slowly following her as she made her way home. 6 days after her disappearance, after a massive search.
A massive search by local law enforcement and volunteers, hoping for the best.
I know that she's still here somewhere. It's just finding her.
The victim that we have found is the missing juvenile from Pasco County, Miss Odom.
Jennifer's body was found without any clothes, face down, and badly decomposed in an orange grove in Hernando County.
Who could take a little girl's life? What possesses them to do that?
2 years later, the 5th of January, 1995, a few people looking for scrap metal in a rural area discovered Jennifer's missing book bag and clarinet case, which had fingerprints on it. For 3 decades, the tragic incident of Jennifer Odom remained a mystery.
She was found back here in the woods, back by that big barren tree. in that general area over there.
So it's hard to believe this was the scene for something like that.
Well, because it's quiet, it makes it a perfect area for her to be murdered and left here.
DNA material was collected from both horrific incidents. 2015, a new research method was used. Authorities utilized a familial DNA system. A familial DNA search is a method used by authorities in DNA databases for genetic info, indicating a relative of a potential candidate they seek to identify. ScienceDirect.com states that FDS has two primary components. One, the software comparison of a DNA profile from an unknown contributor with known profiles from a DNA database, example, convicted offender profiles. And two, lineage testing to further support relatedness. The software uses genetic algorithms to identify patterns in similarity that are likely to occur within close family relationships, example, a parent, a child, a sibling, etc. Cold case detectives are working around the clock reopening unsolved homicides. With the advantage of advanced technology, they are able to make solid connections to decades-old cases much quicker. In the case of Carolyn Murray, the DNA material collected was thoroughly analyzed. The long-awaited answer eventually led detectives to a depraved coward by the name of Jeffrey Norman Crum, a predator with a very disturbing criminal history. He was once convicted in 1987 of sexual assault and kidnapping and served only 18 months. 18 months. 18 months. Let that sink in. Jeffrey was arrested for the kidnapping, assault, and attempted murder of Carolyn Murray. 2023, 30 years later, another DNA search has tied Jeffrey, who is currently serving 2 life sentences, to the horrific and tragic slaying of Jennifer Odom, the 12-year-old that didn't make it home from her school bus stop. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement Specialists ran the DNA from the material found on the victim, Jennifer Odom. It led them to Jeffrey's son, Jeffrey Crum II, who was also serving time in prison. Officials then obtained DNA samples from the younger brother, father, and grandfather. The sheriff said a direct comparison between the DNA found on the victim and that of the father found a match with a certainty of 1 in 7.7 nonillion. To clarify, a nonillion is a number with 30 zeros. Both students were attacked in very similar fashion, both stepping out of the school bus, walking home alone. He waited in his blue pickup truck, prowling and hunting down defenseless minor girls and performing unthinkable acts. George Lordgren, a seasoned detective at Hernando County, said, Jeffrey lived in the area where Jennifer Odom was from, and he owned a blue pickup truck. Lordgren said, the situation has been discussed with Jennifer Odom's family. After 30 years, it's a lot for them to get through. There may be more victims. People with information should call 352-754-6830 and ask for Detective Lordgren.
Horribly attacked and sexually assaulted. Brutally is an understatement. She actually had injuries to her head and skull that were very significant, and she was left for dead. Fortunately, the victim survived, but her life was forever changed even to this day. She was a true victim, a good kid. She actually moved from out of state to an area of less crime, Dean's List, just a good all-around kid, and suffered this very brutal attack. A true victim. Of course, Pasco Sheriff's Office at the time started a massive manhunt, and every agency in the Tampa Bay area was looking for the blue truck that was seen in the area by some of her classmates. I think every one of us, and especially those in law enforcement, can look at Jennifer as our sister, our niece, our granddaughter, and realize that, man, that is a tragedy beyond tragedies.
A grand jury indicted Jeffrey on first-degree murder, kidnapping, and sexual battery charges, said State Attorney Bill Gladson. Gladson also said prosecutors will seek the death penalty in the Jennifer Odom case. This is every parent's worst nightmare, State Attorney Gladson said. I have confidence we have the right person and we have the right aggravators in this particular case to treat it as a death penalty case. This is why a tight-knit community is important. When neighbors look out for each other, look out for the children, to try and prevent a tragic and horrific incident such as these. Halfway in developing this video, I honestly didn't even want to continue. But this will shed light into other possible victims that this lunatic is responsible for. Once again, people with information should call 352-754-6830 and ask for Detective Lloydgren. Please, be safe.